So I just got back from an inspection, okay, and it's a 1981 home. And I go in there, and I think it's a really nice home, but I find a few things here wrong with it, and some windows got stuck. The home is 81.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
All right. So I'm going to find a few things, and the buyers, I thought they would be happy. No matter what home I go into, whether it's a brand new home or an old home, I'm going to find a problem. Brand new construction, I find problems all the time.
Of course. Yeah. Nothing's perfect.
But they're like, oh my God, that window doesn't open, or that door is not completely aligned, or there's the faucet drips, the hose faucet outside drips. Why are people's expectations so high?
And it seems to be getting worse.
It is. And I'm saying to myself, maybe it's because, before it was a seller's market, they didn't have a choice. But now in certain areas, it's becoming a buyer's market. Not all areas, because right. I know some areas that the homes are only on the market for 4 or 5 days.
Right, and it does vary in its price and all that. But expectations that a house is completely perfect when you walk in the door is very unrealistic, to be honest. Well, no house is perfect.
And I've talked to realtors too. So basically, they're like, "Hey, I want a house that's 2,400 square feet. I want 4 bedrooms, 3 bath. I want it on a cul-de-sac, no flood zone. I want a newer roof. I got 300,000." That's what basically expectations. You must get a lot of calls, and you talk to people about, "This is what I want," but
right. Sometimes it's unrealistic, and you have to kind of walk the customer down the path so that they understand. It's not just the real estate agent is being lazy. This is what the market is right now in the area that you're looking. And so that's where sometimes you have to make a concession and broaden your horizons a little bit, and maybe not be in the same area that you're in, or that you wanted to be in. You got to move out just a little bit further.
But here's the funny part about these people that I'm talking about, okay? And they're selling a house, okay? And I inspected their house too. I did a pre-sale
inspection. Yep.
Okay,
it's a great idea, by the way. Pre-sale inspection takes off a lot of significant issues up front, which is very smart.
And they feel like, I pointed some stuff out to them, that their house that they're currently living in is actually not as good condition as this one. But to them, like people say, "Oh, my house is worth $1 million."
Right.
Because that's
it's your house.
It's your house.
Yeah, it's your house. Of course, I get it.
Like if somebody came to my house and they said, "Hey, you know what? That's not good," or "This is not good," maybe I would be like,
You'd probably be a little more like, "Okay, well, we'll fix it," or like, "It's not the end of the world." Because you do it every day, you're in the industry, so.
Yeah, and if somebody was going to inspect my house, they would find some issues. Like a mechanic, the last thing that they're going to work on is their own car.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But finding the perfect home, is it realistic these days?
Well, I think that's a tough statement. I think it's finding the perfect home for you that makes more sense, because I don't think there ever really is such thing as a perfect home.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, Bill. A lot of people will give you a wish list. Like if I was buying a home and I went to a realtor, I would say I need to be in this school district, maybe this neighborhood, this many bedrooms, this size house, I need an office, whatever. It's a wish list.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you get wish lists. I know a lot of the other realtors get wish lists from people. How many times have you got 100% of everything on the wish list?
I can't think of one time where 100% of everything on somebody's wish list was there, to be honest with you.
So that's what I'm talking about. It's unrealistic expectations. Yeah, no. Okay, how about people, they want a move-in house that's ready to go. They don't need to do anything, and it's cheap. Okay, if you want a house that's...
But what's cheap?
But let's just say the average house in the neighborhood goes for $400,000.
Okay.
But their budget is $300,000. But there's a unicorn that comes up in that neighborhood for like $325,000, $350,000. You really think that a home inspector is not going to go in there and find something wrong? There's a reason why it's below the house.
The average market, yeah, for that neighborhood. Of course, you're going to find stuff that's wrong, and I'm going to keep saying it. We do find things that are wrong, on every single house. Nothing is perfect. Absolutely nothing is perfect. Just look at, if you walked around your own house with an inspector's eye and really started to pick apart every little thing, you're going to start to find things. And wait till you move all the furniture out. Well, and all the pictures off the wall, you really start to see some things.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody, they go into a house and they're like, oh, especially Flipper's house, those are the worst houses ever. Okay, I'm just being honest. They put all their energy into the kitchen and the bathrooms.
Well, those are the two biggest items that will increase the value of the property.
Right, but when I walk in as a home inspector, I look at that stuff towards the end of the inspection, but I go right to the attic, I go right to the electrical panel, I go right to the plumbing, I go right to the outside of the house, because I'm a big believer. And what happens on the outside of the house is going to affect the inside of the house, roof, structure.
Oh, of course, general maintenance of your house. I mean, we're going to do a video on what's general maintenance of the house, and maybe there's 25 things that you probably don't even think about when it comes to maintaining your property, which will help keep its value, and then the maintenance costs down in the future. But flipper homes, they're generally, now I've seen a few flip houses where they've put in insulation and they've done some upgrades. They really did them right.
I'm not saying all flippers are bad.
But those are some premium properties too at that point.
But there's some pretty bad flippers too.
Yeah, and you just have to pay attention to those and really look at those. That's why it's really important to get a home inspection on every property that you look at.
Yeah, it's really important.
I'm not just saying that because of Jimmy. I truly believe that.
Here's another thing that on a unrealistic expectation, unrealistic large budgets. Okay, assuming they can't afford a house beyond what their financial pre-approval indicates. They're like, I know a few people that are like, hey, I want to buy in that neighborhood. The houses are like $600,000-$700,000, and they're like, oh yeah, I could probably swing it, but they don't take it. The taxes are going to go up.
Yep.
Insurance is a deal killer,
and it's so unpredictable right now. It's a dangerous. It's in a danger zone right now for sure.
So you need to have realistic expectations. So basically, in my opinion, if it's just you and your partner, that need both incomes in order to pay that mortgage, I would think twice about buying that house. I know you'd be like, oh, you're old-fashioned. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was just all one income. It's not these days.
It's very unrealistic to set that expectation, just in my opinion.
It is unrealistic, but now I'm doing some inspections and they have husband and wife and, a kid or somebody. There's multiple people paying for the house, multiple generations in the house. And so if they have just one hiccup in the flow of money.
Yeah. And I have these conversations with some of my customers that, for instance, I just had a customer, we closed on a house, and we had a conversation in the early ons, because he's in a dangerous job, so the likelihood of injury is extremely high. And if he becomes injured, yes, he does work for a municipality, and he would get light duty, he would get augmented work, hopefully, but he would still get paid as long as he had sick leave, right? But what if your sick leave runs out because it was an injury that was not on the job?
Right.
You have to be able to afford your mortgage. And my advice has always been, if you're getting overtime or you have two jobs, don't count that second income, because what if it goes away?
Even if the mortgage company counts, so some of these mortgage companies, they count the taxes, the way they are. But you have to know, especially in Florida, your taxes are going to go up.
Right.
You might have a 30-year fixed mortgage, and you know what the payment is going to be for the next 30 years. But if you're an HOA, that's probably going to go up. Your property tax is going to go up. Your insurance, those are all variables. Keep that in mind. Here's another people that have too much expectations. They go into houses that people are still living in there, and they're like, hey, we want all the furniture included. We want this furniture, that furniture, or we want the golf cart. I ran into a couple of times, I just did a couple of houses, the golf cart's sitting there, and they're like, oh, throw that into the deal. They have to leave the golf cart behind.
That's more common than you think.
Yeah, and you're talking about some of these golf carts are $15,000.
Yeah, it's more common than you think.
Here's another unrealistic expectation. Okay, instant equity. Okay,
that's hard to do.
But a lot of people expect it.
I know, but it's hard to do.
They want to go into a house that like, oh, I already have $20,000 equity the day I close.
Yeah, the days of that rapid climb of equity is gone for now. And to be quite frank, we don't really want that. We don't want home price, because that keeps driving prices up. We want that, pre-pandemic steady climb that we always had. That keeps the economy running the correct way. It keeps the housing market the correct way, where you're getting a comfortable return.
All right, here's another one. A lot of these people, that a lot of people are doing listings right now.
Yep.
Listings are blowing up. But they're like, they list the home and then 5 days later, like, hey, how come we didn't have any showings? How come we didn't have any buyers?
Right.
What's going on?
This is where the listing agent has to really help set the expectation for the listing, that the days that when they saw all on the news, everybody remembers the unicorn days where it was like the listing would go up and then it would be showing. And now that's just not the case. And that's in most areas and for most properties. If you have a premium property that's priced correctly, the situation may be a little bit different. But in general, just speaking on certain areas that we have now, I just did a listing presentation the other day, and on average, over the last 6 months, it took on average 63 days to get to contract. And that's in their zip code, which is pretty significant.
The unicorn days are over with.
Yeah.
So, if you're going to list your home, I don't care where, maybe a couple of areas. But
there's a few areas.
Yeah,
that even around here.
You could say, hey, what's going on? It's been 5 days. But the majority, those days are over with.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect location and features. Some people want to be in a trendy neighborhood, but their wallet doesn't allow it. How many people that I know?
Caviar dreams on a beer budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard when you really start to look at things and you start to get those. I can't tell you how many times I speak with customers and then I get the call back, because we schedule up a call. I get them connected with the lender if they don't already have one. And then they call me back or I call them at our predetermined time, and they've had that and they get that. They've got shell shock from how much their monthly payment's going to be.
Oh yeah, like even like my house. I said this in other videos too. If I wanted to buy this house now, I probably would have a hard time buying this house.
Yeah, in this how rapidly this went up, plus your upgrades, it would be very difficult.
When I bought this house, everybody thought I was crazy to buy it. They're like, don't buy. I was living in Tarpon Springs. And that's Pinellas County. Then I was moving to Pasco, and they were like, don't buy there, don't buy there. And these are like friends, family, even some realtors, don't buy there, because they were showing me up in Pinellas. And this block had every home for sale, okay? My point to this is, I knew that I would buy the house at a low price, but I knew if I wasn't planning to sell it for a long time, everything eventually goes up. Real estate on a whole, over the years, always goes up.
It's always gone up. If you look at the graphs, the trend is always up and to the right. It hasn't done, other than the pandemic, or the great financial crisis where it did go down, but it still trended right back up afterwards.
Yep.
So as long as you didn't sell.
Yeah, unrealistic expectations. When a home inspector goes in there and they say, oh, your fascia is rotten, or the gutters are blocked, or this or that, and you're like, no, it's fine. Don't have the expectation that your house is perfect, okay?
Right.
Because I'll go into any house and find a problem. There's always something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't remember I think once in my whole career, I went into a place and there was literally, I couldn't write up anything. But it was also an 850 square foot condo. Okay. Here's another unrealistic expectation. You put a for sale sign in front of your house, or maybe you're buying the house. Maybe it is the unicorn house. You don't think what you're looking for, other people are going to be looking for too?
Right.
Competition.
Yeah.
You're not the only person looking for a house or selling a house. So, they're like, well, I'm asking if it's a unicorn house in a unicorn area, and then I guarantee you there'll be multiple offers. And then you'd be like, why are other people offering money? Because they want the same thing you want.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Right. You know, when you have multiple offers, it's going to drive that sale price up, which makes sense because it's a premium property. There's a few. I know I showed a few people some what I would call premium properties. The second we walked in, we're like, holy smokes, this house is immaculate. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it was priced unbelievably right, and it did. I called the agent and they already had 5 contracts on it.
Well, we were going into that one. Quick closings. They're like, hey, sometimes it's unrealistic. The people living in the house maybe need time to move out, or maybe, your finances not going. It's unrealistic sometimes how fast they want people to move.
Right. So sometimes, you're under the gun as the buyer coming in, but you also have, let's say you're buying with cash, because that is typically the easiest way to close on a property and the fastest. Because you don't have to deal with the lending side of things. But you have to remember there's somebody on the other side as well that could possibly have a house that they need to close on as well, other than the one that they're moving out of. So there's a lot of moving parts in the real estate game, and people forget that there's those 2 and 3 and 4 contingencies down the road. That it's the unseen stuff that nobody thinks about.
Here's another unrealistic expectation, okay? People find the perfect house or one that they could settle with, and then they're like, hey, I moved in here, but I hear a dog barking, or I don't like that neighbor, or whatever it is, okay? Mm-hmm. That's unrealistic expectation. If you're moving into a neighborhood, okay, you're living with people. You may not be living with them directly in the house, but you're close proximity, especially here in Florida.
Right.
If you don't, if you want to be quiet, no dogs, go buy something with acreage.
Right. It's going to be very hard to move into a neighborhood where you don't hear a dog barking, music playing, kids playing outside. It's a neighborhood.
Here's another one. Unrealistic negotiation power, okay? Some people are set on the price of the home that they want to sell the house. They don't need to sell it.
Oh, I see. On the listing side?
On the listing side. So they're like, so a buyer goes in there and they're like, oh, they're asking $500,000. And he goes, Bill, offer them $425,000. And you have to go do the offer, right?
Correct.
So you do $425,000 and they say no. And then they go back, all right, $550,000 and they say no. $575,000, they say no. And then you're like, why? What's going on? Maybe that's what the price is. You have to have expectations.
Right. The seller doesn't have to come down on their price. They could. So when we're looking to list or on the buy side, we're looking at comparables so that we can make an educated offer. And then it also, on the buy side, it helps me, if I'm representing you on the buy side, it helps me to know what the comparables are, so that when the seller argues with me about why they've chosen the price or why they won't come down, they present their case through their agent, and then I present my case, and we go back and forth, and that's how negotiations are done, and then we hopefully come to a mutual agreement. That's the whole point.
You know what? I got a list of a whole bunch, but I won't go. I'll go over one big one, okay?
Okay.
This is a big one, okay? Stress-free process. Assuming buying a home is less easy and emotional. Buying a house, I bought plenty of houses in real estate. It's emotional. It's stressful.
It's tiring. No matter how smooth and how great your real estate agent is, you still have work to do, especially on the buy side. Until you experience it, you kind of don't understand it. A good quality lender will make your life easy, but you still have to, it doesn't matter how great the lender is, you still have homework to do, because you still have to find all those documents and jump through all those hoops and answer all those questions, because the lender can't do it for you, neither can I.
So don't be unrealistic that it's not stressful, because buying real estate is stressful, okay? That's today's video. Do me a favor, if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. And check out this video right here. I picked it out just for you guys, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Thank you and have a great day.
See you on the next video. Thanks for watching.